approve the resolution for the quarries, rock crushers, gravel pits, cryptocurrency, adult entertainment methadone clinics. You can see where he also made a change of that regulation in that motion. And the only change was in section 8, in measurements shall be taken from the nearest recorded property line of the sexually oriented business to the nearest property line of the boundary of the foregoing. That's been changed to the measurement shall be taken from the nearest recorded property line of the operations listed above to the nearest property line or boundary to the of the foregoing. So the reason why that was changed is because the sexually oriented business sounded like that was the only one that we were measuring from property line to property line. So he changed that in his motion. Just reflect that on your actual resolution that you have. Make sure that you correct that and change that there. We actually just made a change for me and Jimmy to sign the revised copy. So just want to let you know, if you ever go back and look at your resolution in the future, it will be wrong. So that needs to be corrected on your paper.
Mr. Mayor, while we're talking about that, I've had several questions about the existing rock quarry at the bottom of the hill, the one that's some property been bought this side of Alexandria. What is determining, the way it's worded, it sounds like they have to be in production if they are grandfathered in. But if they've bought the property, does that mean they're grandfathered in? Or I've had people even up to today calling me and asking me. I said, I'll ask the question because that needs to be clarified, because we don't really know.
We're really not sure. It's a really gray area there, but we do feel like if they had a substantially invested in the property, if they can come up with the financials to prove that they've paid for the property, they've paid for things, and they're in going into operation, we still need to sit down with our county attorney and talk it over, probably in a legal session, and just talk about that one topic. But and that's probably going to be scheduled sometime in December, where we'll sit down and look and see who qualifies and who doesn't qualify for the grandfathering clause. But again, it's kind of a...
Well, that was especially the one at this side of Alexandria. They said the property was purchased, but there's been nothing done. No ground broke, no, to their knowledge, no permits filed. Would that grandfather in? And the gentleman that asked me specifically said, well, if that's the case, why can't I put a bar or a nightclub on my property I already own? I already own it. Would I not grandfather in? I didn't know how to answer him, so I told him I'd be glad to pass that along because I'm a property owner too.
Right. Well,
so I don't know. I'm just passing along questions I'm being asked that I can't give them an answer to.
Well, again, we'll have to speak to our county attorney and get legal guidance.
But I just wanted to get that on the record that I did ask.
Yeah.
Because some of them couldn't be here tonight.
Right. Financial reports. You'll look at the 2024-2025. Our October numbers, DeKalb County collected $179,384.95. Smithfield, $395,496.41. Alexandria, $30,319.63. Downtown, $3,054.42. Liberty, $12,889.99 with a net collection of $621,145.40. And last year's number, net collection, $540,546.82. So we are significantly up in sales tax revenue. Our budget amendments have one for Fund 116, our solid waste fund. This is out of fund balance. This is the solid waste account fund balance of 55,000. This will go toward vehicles for the purchase of a used roll-off truck. There was another municipality that's wanting to sell. This will still have to go through the purchasing committee to be purchased and receive bids, but he is wanting to allocate $55,000 there in that line item for purchase when the purchasing committee does approve it.
Will there be any grant money going toward the purchase of that?
No, that's just completely out of fund balance.
I seen the last, I guess, one we bought, and it's a very nice truck,
Yeah.
automatic, everything,
Yeah.
pretty nice.
This one, if he does get the truck that he had been looking at, it wasn't an automatic or anything, it's a manual, but it is still significantly nicer than what we have. I think he's having a lot of problems with high mileage
Is,
on the truck.
what year model, any idea?
I don't want to shoot off a wrong number. I can't
Right.
really remember. I want to say it was 2013, but I could be very wrong.
Do you remember what the new one cost? Any idea?
I don't remember.
I can't either. He told me.
Yeah.
I can't remember it either.
Our second budget amendment in Fund 101. This is out of miscellaneous refunds in the amount of $3,200 going to the school resource officer. This is the money from the state for police salary supplements. Our next budget amendment is also in Fund 101 in the amount of $31,350. This is out of our grant match line item in fire prevention and control. And we're wanting to move that to equipment and machinery parts in the same amount. This request is for a line item transfer within the budget to use unobligated grant match funds to purchase water supply equipment, which is valves and hoses. The grant match will not be used because our grant for water supply equipment was not approved. The approval of our request will allow us to proceed with the water supply project as requested and approved by the Health, Education, and Public Welfare Committee on October 10th. We also have two budget amendments from the Board of Education. This says it's budget amendments to balance budget lines. I got $2,500 in contracted services going to textbooks in the same amount. $3,450 in other contracted services going to contracts with government agencies in the same amount. Dental insurance in the amount of $521.04 going to a different line item for the same purpose, dental insurance. Liability insurance in the amount of $8,400 going to maintenance and repair service in the same amount. $75 from travel going to in-service and staff development in the same amount. $3,500 in due and memberships going to other charges in the same amount. Building contents insurance, $24,995 going to textbooks in that same amount. Medical insurance, $55,225 going to medical insurance in the same amount, different budget line. So the total budget amendment would be $98,666.04. And then this is it says TISA. I believe this is their TISA funding. It's going to another TISA funding line item in the amount of $35,500. So the total budget amount is $35,500, and that's for TISA. All right. Any questions on any budget amendments?
Do we know what that last one was for? I don't know what that is.
The
You, Miss
educators could
Beth?
probably
I don't know.
explain what TISA is a little bit better than me, but as
I don't
far
have a
as
clue.
what that line item is, I have no idea.
I'll look it up.
You have to ask, maybe contact Patrick Cripps between now and our next meeting
That was a
You
new
could
one on
probably
me.
explain it better. Committee reports, we did have a jail meeting. This is the minutes that was presented by Ms. Beth Pafford, our secretary. I think everybody was there that's here tonight. So, is there any questions on the jail minutes? All right. Proceeding on, the first item in new business is a resolution opposing Education Freedom Act. Ms. Beth Pafford asked for me to add this to the agenda. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Has anybody got any questions on the resolution?
I think this should be something the Board of Education should do, not the commissioners.
Well, there are cities and commissions and school boards across the state that have passed versions of this.
You know, I totally disagree with this,
Okay.
like always. You know, I think the money should follow the children.
And I reviewed it. It's worded the same as it was back in April. Nothing has fundamentally changed about the proposed plan. It is still universal vouchers. They do have 10,000 that will be for students in families making 300% below the poverty, or at that poverty line or below, which is for a family of 4. I think if you're making about, can't remember, it's $70,000 or $90,000, then you can take advantage of that. And then the other half of the vouchers are for anyone. And the one change that the governor has added is funding for new school construction, which is fantastic. We know we need help. It is a huge amount of money that counties have to expend, and little rural counties like ours do not have the tax base that bigger counties do. So my recommendation would be to do that outside of a voucher bill, because that would be beneficial to counties. But public schools, I think it's important for everyone to remember, came to be because there was a belief that every kid should have an opportunity to learn, not just the privileged and the well-connected, because that's how education worked back then. And there was a decision made that the whole community benefited when all kids had access to education. And it was not designed to subsidize the private schools that were already in operation. Now, I am not here to say that I don't ever support using money. My goal is to help as many kids learn as possible. And that is a huge, huge task. And if it was easy, we would have a plan that worked for everybody all the time. But it's hard. They are people, and they all have different needs, and we work really hard to meet those needs. And when there are instances where there's a demonstrated need that a kid would benefit from services at one school that the public school can't provide, I don't have a problem with that. But this doesn't have to do with that. This is not about academic needs. It is not about financial needs. It's about funding private schools, and the states that have implemented universal vouchers have seen their private schools begin over time to require that their parents apply for the vouchers to pay. And so they take up most of the money. And there is a transportation issue. There are a whole lot of pieces that go into going to school that the universal voucher does not take care of. And private schools have interviews. You meet our standards, you meet our values, you can come. You don't, you're not welcome. Specifically says in the plan that IEPs, you're not guaranteed that. So those students are automatically out. So Kentucky, Nebraska, and Colorado, this last election cycle, all voted against a ballot measure to institute universal vouchers. We don't get to do that. Our legislators have to put that on the ballot. The people don't have the power to do that. So one way that we can use our voice to say, this is not a plan we support, is to do it through a resolution. So that's why I'm proposing this again. And TISA is the new funding formula that's put out. It's not BEP anymore. The goal was to supposedly make it better, but there are a lot of concerns about how much money is actually going to be coming to our county to support the operation of schools, especially a couple of years from now. They're still figuring everything out. I've also heard they've created a new definition for the way they determine if students are labeled economically disadvantaged, which is where you get more money for more kids that are economically disadvantaged. Also, the new funding source that the governor has said they've got for the new school construction, that is the sports betting money, revenues from that. They've been taking money in for that since 2021. That money goes into the Lottery for Education program, which funds all kinds of things. After school programs, the 2-year associate's degree, the Hope Scholarship, college for students with special needs, veterans to have scholarships. So where are the cuts going to be so that they can use that 80% towards school construction? Again, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But I want for the construction. But I don't want to take away from other good programs that have gone on in the state to do that.
And TISA, to me, what I'm reading here, it's Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement. And it should increase funding and provides funding based on student need through its base and its weight. So pretty much what she was just saying, that's what the TISA program, is that relatively new, TISA?
Yes, I think last year was the first year, and they really didn't make any changes in funding because they didn't know how it was going to work out. And the school board gets told, my understanding is they get kind of a estimated number, but halfway through the school year, they can be told there's $1 million or more that they will not be getting because it is a stricter accounting of student attendance and the school daily attendance. Also, when that money goes to the private schools, they are not held to the same accountability that public schools are, and public schools should be held accountable for student learning and a whole host of things. Private schools will not be held to that. They did say they will have to take a national test. Our public school students are required to take TCAP, and My question would be, will their third graders be held back if they do not meet expectations on the reading portion of the test? Will they be required to have tutoring in fourth grade? And tutoring's great. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing that the state has done. Again, they've cut back funding on it now. Will the fourth graders be checked for adequate growth to make sure they're learning at the rate? And then will they be required to have tutoring every day when they move to fifth grade if they don't show the adequate growth? It is, in my opinion, that taxpayer money should be tracked, and there should be some accountability there also.
Any more discussion? All right, seeing none, our second resolution is for the Community Development Block Grant. So this resolution was developed by the Upper Cumberland Development District, which is our administrator for the grant. So we were getting a grant for the amount of $352,497 for an ambulance and the emergency equipment that's related to it. It spells out what that equipment is. And then this just pretty much says that you agree with the grant conditions of the tentative award. So, is there any questions on the resolution for the grant? If you get to reading that and have any questions or anything, we can come back to it, or you can contact me before the next meeting and I'll try to answer any questions that I can. Or our ambulance service director, Trent Phillips, can also answer some questions if you have any questions to how it's applicable to his department. The third item of new business is the MOU. It says it's between the county commission and the DeKalb County mayor. This is another standard form that all the counties are having to pass as a MOU that have received ARP funding going toward their health department. So this is the construction of the new health department and using the American Rescue Plan Act funds going toward that, for that purpose. So this is just, again, another sample MOU that the state has typed up here for us. And I mean, it's pretty just standard protocol. I think they're just wanting to know that the county commission is indeed in support of using their American Rescue Plan funds for the purpose of a construction toward a health department. And this is underway right now, so we've already, you've noticed they've moved the lines out there and getting ready to do some soil tests and things of that nature to make sure that we can put it where they think they can put it next to the existing health department. Any questions on that? All right, the next item is a property agreement. This went through the purchasing committee. We set out RFQs, or RFPs, for the upkeep of the property that's around the Liberty Fire Hall. So this kind of explains that agreement. I know it's kind of a lot of writing, but again, this went through the purchasing committee and was approved by them with their recommendation. If you got any questions, let me know. I know it's a little bit of reading. Any discussion on that?
And that's at zero cost to the county.
Right. Zero
There's no cost.
Yeah, no cost to us.
And it will be kept up.
Right. The next item in new business is a medical examiner policy. So I hate to bring up the medical examiner's office again. Not trying to bully anybody, not trying to cause any issues, but we did get an invoice in my office for, I had 3 charges for $100. 2 of those charges had patient names attached to them, and one just said unpaid from July. That kind of struck me funny because I wasn't sure that Dingle was the examiner during the time of July. I believe Dr. Cantrell was. So I called Lonnie, I asked him what was the other $100 charge, and then he told me he'd call me back, so he did. Shortly he called me back and said, well, that was the charge for Dingle coming out to one of the other desks that was charged on that invoice. So, in other words, Dingle charged us for going out to the scene for $100, then charged us another $100 for signing the certificate for the same decedent. So, I wasn't sure. I've never heard of that before. I didn't think that that was the intention of the commission, so I wanted to ask. And this ain't picking on anybody or anything. I think we need to have it in writing of who gets paid what, when, and how much. So if that is the intent of the commission for her to go out and get paid, I would like to see that in writing, just so I know what I'm supposed to do in my office. Am I supposed to pay her for going out, or is she supposed to just get $100? Another thing that was talked to about, Lonnie also mentioned that he had went to the scene and performed some death investigations. So the next invoice will have charges from him on there for $100. I just want to keep in mind that our employees at the ambulance service are paid an hourly rate. So when they go to the scene, they're only getting paid, if that person makes $14 an hour, they're only getting paid $14 an hour while they're there. And they may only be there for 2 hours, they may be there for 5 hours. But I think when I addressed this to Lonnie, which he expressed, well, this is the way we've done it. So I think he's still thinking about the old way as far as the employees, setting Dr. Dingle herself aside. Our employees cannot make the $100 per call. Used to, employees went on the scene as a contracted employee, and they made $100 per body. So each body that they went out to perform an investigation on, they made a $100 check. That was like a contracted service to them. The reason why we stopped doing that, and that was part of the discussion before, was they were caught on the ambulance during working hours as an ambulance service employee, making an hourly salary, was performing death investigations while on the call as a paramedic or EMT. So they were double dipping. They were getting a check from us for $100, and they were getting a check for us being there hourly. So that's what started the whole conflict in the beginning, was that they wanted to keep doing it that way. But the auditors from the state comptroller's office come down and said, hey, if this is what you're doing, you've got to stop now because it's illegal. So I told them that we would make our best effort to change the way we're doing it to prevent that avenue of ever happening again, that avenue of fraud from ever happening. So what we done is we told them that we'd pay them an hourly rate, and this was a long discussion. This has been 4 or 5 months discussion through budget committee meetings, health education, public welfare committee meetings, that we've talked about how we need to do this the most fair way we can. So the employees are getting paid an hourly rate. That way, if they go on the call, they're getting paid one check. And I believe Trent still tries to find somebody that's not on an ambulance, so they don't tie an ambulance up on a scene with a deceased body. So they'll call someone in, they'll get paid however many hours that they were there, at their hourly salary, and then they go back home. Now, they are all trained, cross-trained, so in the event that someone can't come, they can do it on an ambulance, but they don't get paid any more for it. It's just, you were there, you were on the ambulance, that was part of the job. But I just wanted to let everybody know that I think in this policy, and my intentions are based on the discussion that happens tonight, I'm asking for ideas on what that policy needs to state, and then I'm going to construct that policy and bring it back to our next county commission meeting. So if they're a non-employee, which Lonnie could be an employee, he could be on the part-time employee list, he has been before. So do we want to pay him $100 as a contracted person? 'Cause technically we could, since he's not an employee, but they would be making, he would be doing the same work for more money.
What about your employees that are not on the clock? Are you going to put them on the clock for the time they're there?
If they're
Or are we
not-
going to pay them the $100?
If they're not on the ambulance, they come in at an hourly rate. Because the suggestion from the comptroller was you can't be paying hourly, you can't be paying someone hourly and then
Right.
turning around and paying them $100 as a contracted
Right.
employee. You can't do both. You have to be one or the other. Can't be one foot out. So there is nobody right now, absolutely nobody, that's making $100 per body. Now, in the invoice that I received, they're asking for Dingle to make $100 for going to the scene, and then another $100 for signing the certificate of one decedent. And then there's another charge for just a certificate. I guess somebody else went out and done the investigation, so she's getting paid $100 for a certificate. The only thing we've talked about since all this is going on is that Dingle would still be making $100 for signing a certificate. So for me, what my understanding of this is that I get an employee that goes out at an hourly rate, does the investigation. When the investigation's over, Dingle sends me an invoice for $100 because that investigation goes to her, she signs the certificate, and Dingle gets $100. So I paid someone hourly, and I paid Dingle $100 for signing. But now we're getting into Dingle's husband, Lonnie, is going out to calls, and he wants $100, and Dingle gets $100 for signing it, or Dingle goes out to the call and does the investigation. She gets $100 for the investigation and $100 for the signing of the certificate. So she's making $200.
I thought we only paid $100. That was my understanding.
That was my understanding.
I may be wrong, but that was my understanding per call, per body.
Per body, yeah.
So I just want a policy. That way it's not just me saying,
Right.
looking like a bully or looking like a
Right.
bad guy, like I'm trying to
We
stir
don't have,
something.
we don't have a policy in place.
We don't have a policy about anything of a medical examiner at all. So that's why I'm requesting that if you'll give me a little bit of input on who you think should get paid what and when.
Well, my question real fast is if none of the ambulance employees can go and the last person that can go is Lonnie or Miss Dingle, do we pay her $100 or how does that work?
Well, that's a question. Do you want them going out and doing it, or if not?
If nobody else,
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that.
Now, we do have
How was we doing
we do
it
have
in
all the
past?
employees on the ambulance trained, because you remember during this
Right.
middle ground where we couldn't figure out what to do about paying people. We went like a month or two there where we couldn't pay anybody $100. We didn't really know what to do as far as who's going to go investigate. But so just to get us through that window during all the dispute, and it was a good emergency backup to have anyway. If that call list, if nobody goes to the scene, an ambulance can show up, and a part of their duty as a paramedic or EMT, providing emergency care, they can go ahead and do it, but they're not going to be paid anymore for it.
I understand that.
Yeah.
My question was about Lonnie and Miss Dingle.
Right.
So if we don't have a policy in place, we need to do that, but whatever happened in the past, we just need to pay the invoice because we have no say-so.
Because there was no policy in
Yeah.
effect.
So maybe pay what happened, and then from the policy day forward, everybody knows where we stand.
Yep, well, we can do that, however you want to do it. I knew.
I wouldn't do it for
I-
$1,000, so I appreciate whoever's willing to do it.
Right.
Yeah, I've done it several times during that hiccup also, trying to catch up because nobody was going. But
So
the
what was
reason
it-
why I did not pay that is because when this commission talked about this, I did not feel like it was the intent of the commission for that to be going on. Like I'm like you all, I thought $100 and that was it. So I just wanted to, if you want me to go ahead and pay the other $100, I'll do it. But I need to know the intent of the commission.
I got a question before we go any further.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before Trent and them all got trained and, certified to do this, what was we paying them in the past, the same situation? What was we paying them?
Talking about before the
Before the
comptroller.
paramedics and everything got involved, what was we paying Dingle and them in the past?
They've always been involved. So even as, for the last 15 years, EMS employees nurses also, are certified to be an MDI, which is a medical death investigator. You have to have an EMT license or higher to be an MDI. So we were utilizing the EMTs and paramedics on their off days when they're off the clock. They were going to the scene of a death and being paid $100.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the issue come along when they wasn't doing it on their off days, and the one reason why it happened is because they were shorthanded, but they started doing it while they were at work instead of off the clock. And that's how it's been. I mean, J.C. Wall had it that way. And I was an MDI. When I worked at the ambulance service, I did the same thing. I worked my shift, and on one of my days off, if I got a call that there was a death, I went to the scene, and if I was there for 30 minutes or if I was there for 5 hours, I got paid $100 on my days off. But you were also told that you cannot do death investigations while you're on the ambulance.
I
Because it's
understand-
double
I
dipping.
I understand that.
Right.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get to the point, what was we paying?
We're paying them $100, but then the
$100. Okay,
comptroller,
so she went on a call, done that,
And you were off the clock.
and she's a medical examiner, right? Director, whatever.
Yeah.
She done 100. She went and done it, done 100, and then plus the certificate. I mean,
With no policy in place, I just don't see how we can't pay it.
okay, I don't care.
That was the question I was asking.
Yeah.
I can see if the EMTs, paramedics, if you're on the clock, I can see you don't get the $100 because you're on the clock. But if it's your day off, just what you said, and you get called in because, let's say they're all booked up, they're on emergency runs, or they're in Nashville with a run with a client or something, and you go, and in the past, we paid you $100 to go on the scene because you're off the clock, and then we pay the coroner $100 to sign the death certificate, correct? That's what we've done in the past. Then that's what we've got to do. And we need to set that, if that's what we want to continue doing, we need it in a policy. If not, well, like you, we need to word the policy like something you can follow.
Let me make, if I haven't been clear enough, I'm not sure if I'm getting the point across here or not. We absolutely cannot write $100 checks to EMS employees, any county employee, for medical death investigations.
But we have been doing it if you're off the clock.
And the comptroller come and told us, do not do it again.
Why is that double dipping if you're on a salary?
Because
If you're not hourly wage, you're on a salary, I could see that.
because there's an avenue for fraud. They do not want you to be an employee that gets paid hourly by the county and to be contracted to do this for $100 at the same time. So the way we were doing it, we cannot keep doing it. Now, if we want to pay Dingle $100, if we want to pay Lonnie $100, that's fine. They're not county employees. But our EMS employees that we're utilizing right now for this cannot make $100.
I understand that if they're on the clock.
Period.
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 I understand
Whether
that.
they're on the clock
But
or
now
off
you're
the
saying they
clock, I
can't be
cannot pay
paid.
them $100.
I don't understand that, but
They're a county employee.
I understand that completely.
I think
We
But
got away
why,
with
if
it
you're
for a
off
long
the
time,
clock-
until they got caught double dipping.
And we've
now they
been,
said-
well,
they slapped us on the
but
hand,
the
told us
double
not to do it.
dipping is the illegal part.
Yeah,
I think we need to have a government services committee write a policy.
You're not double dipping if you ain't on the clock.
All right. You want to put that in the form of a motion?
Sure.
Well, we're on a workshop, we can't do that
We're
anymore.
workshopping that.
I'm used to being like here. we
Right,
can make motions,
right.
so,
But I think that would be the
And I
thing.
think
If we do not have a policy,
Yeah,
then the government services committee needs to write a policy for it.
Yeah, we need something in writing.
and if I need to bring a comptroller down here from the state, we can do that too in the committee meeting or the commission meeting, whatever you want
I
to do.
think we got to handle.
That way it's not just me saying it. No,
Oh, I'm
somebody-
not disputing your word that that's ain't what they told you. I can't see how it's double dipping if you're not on the clock,
I can see
unless you're a
people take
salary.
advantage of it.
Now, if you're a salary, you're on the clock. But if you're hourly, you're not on the
I
clock.
understand, but they're who I answer to.
Oh, I understand. I'm not
They
arguing.
come
about
and tell
you.
me not to do
I
that no
just
more.
don't,
I'm not gonna do it, so.
Right, I don't see how that could be double dipping.
Yeah. I'm the one that writes the check. I'm the financial officer of the county. So I'm liable for whatever happens. After I sign that check and it goes, the liability's on me. And I'm not gonna sign a $100 check to anybody that the auditor told me not to. I'm just not gonna do it.
Oh, I understand that completely, but I
But
don't understand the
I
other.
think Larry's made a good suggestion. We send it to the Government Services Committee, and we'll let them draft the policy. We'll bring it back in our later December meeting, and maybe we can pass it then. Until then, I'll hold payment until I figure out what y'all want me to do. Do you want me to pay? Go ahead and pay for the $100?
I think
What do you want?
Tony's right.
I just don't see how we can.
If
Go
we
ahead
do
and
not
pay.
have a policy in place.
Okay.
We don't have any
And that
choice.
clears the books, and then we
Yeah.
start fresh with a new policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with offering like time and a half for the EMS for them to do it when they're off the clock? Can we
That was
gra-
gonna be
I'm-
my
I'm not on the
question.
Government Services Committee, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I don't.
That was going to be my question. Like, if they're already at 40 hours for their pay period and they go out, I'm assuming it would be billed as overtime.
Yeah, it would be overtime. More than likely, it would be. Yeah.
But it's a minimum of 3 hours they get, ain't it?
4 hours.
4 hours.
I just appreciate somebody doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a tough job.
All right, I think I got the answers I was looking for, so thank you. I'll be glad when I ain't gotta talk about the medical exam. All right. That is all of our new business. But there is a couple things that I wanted to address in other business. And some of it's just informational, nothing to vote on. But one thing I wanted to address is the sales tax extension. So I've spoken with all of our municipalities and the Board of Education. Everybody has approved the sales tax extension except for Alexandria. So Liberty has, Downtown, Smithfield, and the Board of Education, and ourselves. So the only missing piece of the puzzle is Alexandria. So I've talked to Miss Beth. I've sent her emails about, I would be welcome, glad to come over there and sit down and answer any questions they have to her and her board in Alexandria. I know it's kind of a extensive agreement, kind of hard to understand sometimes, but I don't mind a bit to come down there and explain it. I'm not sure what the feelings are there. I've tried. I know I've read the WJLE article on the meeting that they had. It sounded like they took some public comments, but it didn't really sound like they.
I can tell you y'all what happened. The alderman is not gonna make a decision yet. They did open it up to the public, and the majority of the public in Alexandria said no. And that come from one of the aldermen.
Well, that is unfortunate.
And what they, and like this, the email she sent you back, as a commissioner, and as you as the mayor,
Hey, Coel, hold your mic up to your ma'am. It's raining really hard.
as commissioners and you as the mayor, we need to meet with the board of Alexandria somehow and discuss this with them. I mean, you know, cause a lot of them don't understand. I know there's one alderman that's against it, and then there's more that are up in the air. Cause they're kinda like the, over across the river, what we do for them.
That's a good question,
You know.
but it's an easy answer.
I know it's an
Yeah.
easy answer, but
Yeah, we've done a lot to the West School,
I know we have, but
and you know, a lot of people from under the hill go to our high school,
yes.
and one day this sales tax agreement is going to trickle into those schools, and it already has
Mm-hmm.
done a lot at the West School. I mean,
But I really think we need to meet with them,
we can, yeah,
hear their concerns,
of course,
know.
yeah. I think
Because-
we're willing to.
because all of them but one is new down there. They're new.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's like when I first started. I'm still learning today. You know,
But
But
I think
I'm
this,
just going on what I hear, what I talk to people, you know, and they've requested, you know, that, to meet with you. Not by email, not by text, to meet.
tell me a date and time, and I'll be there.
You need to call her and set one up. And it's not me to make up the date and time. You need to call her and ask her when do they want to meet.
I have.
Well,
Yeah.
ain't what I'm hearing.
Well, that's why I got the emails printed off for you to read. I even gave her my phone number, told her I'd go to any meeting she wants me to go to, so. I don't think this is a one-person problem. This is a community problem that the only way we're gonna solve it is if we work together. If we want something for our kids' future, we're gonna have to work together. We're gonna have to put, you know, personalities aside. It ain't
All I
anybody's.
said, Matt, is we need to have a meeting with them. I'm not got no personality. We need to meet with them because they're new. A lot of us are new, and we need to discuss it. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I may not have been talking about your personality,
Well,
but
kinda sounded like it.
sorry you feel that way. We're gonna have to work together. The community's gonna have to talk to the members of Alexandria, talk to your alderman, talk to the mayor. If you want a school and that's what you want to advocate for, let your voice be heard. Let them know that, you know, this time it's Smithfield Elementary, next time it may be West School, next time it may be the high school, and everybody will benefit from that. The West School has already taken a very large amount of those funds. So, I mean, this is not just for Smithfield or any municipality, it's for everybody. That's the reason this agreement has went on for as long as it has. So 1967 is when it started.
Well, I was just going to say, another point is there are students that come to Northside and Smithville Elementary that are zoned for West School, but to meet their needs, they come up here. And the same, I think there are some kids up here that go down there, again, because of certain needs to take care of that. So yes, we are all in this together.
That's correct. All right.
Do we know when their next meeting is?
I don't.
So this started in 1960?
1967 was when the agreement first took place.
When was the West School built?
I'm not sure.
After that?
Well, yeah, I would assume.
Okay.
The agreement took place in 1967 for 30 years, and in 2007, it was extended for another 30 years to 2037. So, and we're looking to extend it to meet our 30-year bond.
Right.
So,
Dwayne, do you know when they meet? Alexandria? Yes, sir.
I think they got a special one called. I can find out tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Well, looking away from the negativity of this, looking at the more optimistic point of view, we have every single municipality, Board of Education, and the county all agreeing to do this, all agreeing to build a pre-K through second grade Smithville Elementary School. So I think this is the farthest this project has ever gotten. And I just would like to commend our county commission, the municipalities that have approved it, and the Board of Education. So thank you all for your help and looking toward making your community prosper. So, all right.
Said Alexandria's meeting is the fourth Tuesday at 7 p.m. That's when their schedule is. Council meeting times, Alexandria, fourth Tuesday at 7, Town Hall.
One item in other business that we need to vote on is the electronic monitoring service agreement. This is for the ankle monitors for the inmates. So we do have to have an agreement. So this is just a standard agreement with this company. I believe the cost goes to the inmate. Is that right, Sheriff? Cost goes to the inmate? Yes, so, okay. So that will need to be voted on. And I think our last and most exciting part of other business is Freddie Curtis. Would you like to come up, Freddie, and introduce yourself? You go to the mic right there at the podium, introduce yourself, and I know you've sent some emails to the commission about what you're so excited to tell us about, but kind of elaborate on that for us.
Absolutely. Is this thing on? It is.
No.
Click a button. Let's see. Help him out there.
Maybe we'll learn how to learn the electronics here. Good to see everybody tonight. I'm Freddie Curtis. No stranger to this body, I don't think, because let's see, I was trying to think the last time I was in front of a county commission was to try to get a school budget approved in Cannon County. So been here, been done it, and seen all kinds of action for, I was involved in education for 37 years, so I know how vital it is and important it is. And some of you I've known for a long time. Others of you not so much, but I don't think I'll need to introduce myself a whole lot. Native to DeKalb County, born in Lebanon, lived in Alexandria, raised in Alexandria, graduated DeKalb County schools, went to, he was talking about DeKalb West, built in 1974. I was the first sixth grade class in that building. So I can tell you a little bit about that and a whole lot more. But I appreciate Matt and I were talking the other day. I'm retired now after 37 years in the school system and turned right around and have been busy. After my wife passed away, who she taught for 24 years at Smith Elementary. Of course, Beth knew Trina, and many of you did too. And when Trina passed away, I thought, well, some of my boys, which I've got 4 sons, they said, "What are you going to do now?" And I said, "Well, I'm not going to jump out of an airplane, or I'm not going to buy a Harley. I'm going to go back to school." So I went back to MTSU and was working on my second master's degree in history, and I had to stop that when I became director of schools in Cannon County. And so I've picked that back up, and I was talking with Matt. One of my classes was museum management this semester. And I was talking to Matt, and we have to do a project. And Dr. Carol Van West is the state historian. He's my mentor and my professor for this class. And Dr. West and I got talking. He said, "Well, what's going on in DeKalb?" And I said, well, we've got I know the Liberty History Room is not been done a lot of with it in a long time. And then I think there's a history room in the DeKalb complex. So I came up and looked in the history room, and guess what? There's no history. So I think originally that was meant to have a small museum of DeKalb County. And nothing had ever been done. And my other mentor, Mr. Tommy Webb, whom I had in class at DeKalb County High School when I was there in the library, and then turned right around, and of course Tommy's been gone for, I guess, 5 years now. So we miss Mr. Webb. In fact, what I sent you on my master's thesis on Divided, the political history of DeKalb County, I sent you part 1, and I hope you got to read that. It's really good information. But when we started talking to Matt, and he said, well, there's no history in the history room. And basically the only exhibits that we have in DeKalb County outside of the Liberty History Room is what they have at the DeKalb County Fairgrounds, and also what's at the Justin Potter Library, and which that's good. And then at the courthouse, they have those displays that are there that are limited, and that's all the history in DeKalb County. And I think most of us all can agree that the history of DeKalb County is not very interesting, but we need to be teaching it, and we need to be talking about it. And this county was literally founded in 1873 because people were not satisfied. Cannon County was created the year before, and they said the good people of Danville, which was Woodbury, which later became Woodbury, were not being too nice to the people in southern Smith County, which is, guess what, Alexandria, Liberty, and Downtown. And so they weren't really, and so they petitioned the legislature to do something about it, and again, guess what happened? They created DeKalb County in 1837, the next year. So what we would like to do, and I'm talking with Dr. West, is sent you a report about trying to put some exhibits there in the museum. Now, what I'd like to do, if I'm appointed your historian, I'd first like to name Mr. Bobby White as my assistant. Bobby has worked many, many years and recently retired a few years ago from the Tennessee State Museum. Bobby was a curator there and was looking and was over all of their exhibits and making sure that they were curated correctly and brought in. Bobby drove from downtown all the way, in Alexandria, all the way to Nashville every day to the State Museum. We have a beautiful State Museum. If you've not been down there, it is phenomenal. And Bobby was a part of that, and I'd like to name him as assistant, and then create a committee to look at doing some history in the history room. Now, what will that entail? Security, number one. We've already talked about that with Matt and myself. But also be getting panels, and also putting some curation, meaning usually of cabinets and places and exhibits. Now, you do that, that's going to cost some money. And I know it's tight, and I know the physical abilities, but we'd like to form a committee first, and any of you that would like to serve could also be on that committee. And we would like to then look at the committee and then turn right around and give you a recommendation about how many exhibit cases we'll need. And then we'll ask the community, you have any artifacts that you'd like to loan or to donate to the county to place in in those cabinets. So, and Bobby is also looking at, or Mr. White is also looking at maybe seeing what they have at state surplus, because they're going to be dismantling a lot of cabinetry down there and display cases at the State Museum. So maybe we can get some of those transferred to us so we won't have to buy so many of them. Because most of those are a couple $1,000s for each, and the panels, depends on what you put on the panels, and dividing the room up. We can use some doors. That has been done before in the past, is putting the hinge doors together to put dividers up. That can be done, or we can certainly look at panels, and that to me would be a matter for the committee. But I'm honored to be considered I know Matt could have probably just appointed me and be done, but I said, no, I'd like it brought before the commission, so each of you could vote that I would be your county historian. And in honor of Tommy, nobody replaced Tommy Webb. And Tommy also went, before he passed away, when I was diligently working on part 1 and part 2 of divided the political history of DeKalb County, what I tried to get Tommy to do is to go through, and he went through and revised and edited and did some things for me there in part 1 and 2 and made it better. But I appreciate you, and appreciate this body, appreciate what you do. I don't think a lot of people realize what county commissioners do for representing our county. And my pleasure an honor, really, to be nominated for this. Any questions you have? No money so far, so no money for this position. This is a volunteer position, and I'm very happy and very, very gratified and honored to be nominated for this. Any questions? Surely not.
No money, no questions.
That's good. So I appreciate it. I appreciate your support, and I think all of you have my email. Did anybody have a problem getting the email? And somebody asked me the other day, said, what about part 2? I'll send you part 2. Part 3's coming, but it's going to be a while for that. It's probably going to be about 5 parts. And I can't wait till I get up to the 1940s and then on into the 1970s with Joel Evans and then Frank Buck and election reforms that were done in this county. And anything, I'll try to send you some bits and pieces along too of what I encounter. I didn't think it would be this much, but man, it's been a fascinating ride in doing the political history of DeKalb County. Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. All right. And before we go to public comments, I would like to thank all of our law enforcement for their efforts Thursday. Smithfield City, DeKalb County, our state police, TBI, Homeland Security, for apprehending the suspect that we had during the manhunt. That was a very scary time for everybody, and I just want to thank them, and we're blessed to live in a community with great law enforcement. We've also looked into maybe investing in our next budget on license plate readers. They don't take your speeding tickets or anything like that. They're only search for wanted license plates. So if there was a fleeing suspect that was fleeing out, if you had license plate readers on at least the 4 major state highways, you could at least catch them, know what direction they're going in, because it would pick up that and send an alert to 911 and pinpoint where that license plate was at the time it got read. So kind of makes you think about the world a little bit when something crazy like that happens to you.
Man, I do have one more thing before we go to public comments,
Yeah,
please.
go ahead.
I know we talked about the Parks and Rec committee doing that. We need to, I guess, officially nominate Tony for that position so we can get started. We've had a lot of people call us wanting to get that going, and we got some really good stuff that's happening, but we got to have that committee officially going before we can do anything else.
Yeah, I think we done created.
We created, but we never did officially nominate him as chair, so
Okay.
he can get a vice chair and a secretary, so we can actually have a full committee on that.
Yeah, just let me know when y'all want to go, and we'll
Can we do that next
send a
Monday
date
night?
and time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll do it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
also, last month, we talked about a policy for renting the community centers.
Yes,
I think we need to refer that to government services and have that reworked.
it's a good idea. Let's see. Looks like the Government Services Committee is going to be busy.
Pardon?
So it looks like the Government Services Committee is going to be busy.
Looks like it.
Yeah. All right. Any other member got a Anything in other business before we go to public comments?
Are we going to address what Mr. Curtis was talking about Monday night as well?
Yes, yeah, we'll need to
Okay.
make that official. Somebody will need to make a motion to make Freddie Curtis our county historian. Yep. Any other questions or other business? All right, does any member of the public wish to come up and speak to the county commission? I'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Address your name and either your address or the district you reside in.
My name is Matthew Pitt. I reside in District 2. I just had a few questions about the resolution passed last month. Has the county legally notified Jones Brothers they cannot operate in Alexandria? Liberty, yeah.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but we also don't answer any questions during public comments. It's only comment only.
Will you return my phone call tomorrow if I call you?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. But y'all passed that resolution last month, and I just want y'all to be prepared to stand up for the resolution y'all passed and take it all the way up to the state Supreme Court if necessary. I want y'all to be prepared to do that, and I would like for y'all to do that. Thank you.
State your name and either your address or the district you're
Mike
residing.
Antoniak, 2nd District. Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, in your response earlier to Myron's question about the County Powers Act, I got the impression you're going to look for ways not to enforce it. Doug Walter and I went to Hilton 2 weeks ago and presented evidence on why the quarry on Snows Hill could be stopped. We showed that the company hasn't applied for a required permit, and so under the law, the state law, you're applicable to the state law right up until the moment you apply for the permit. We gave that evidence. If I was going to sell beer and didn't have a permit, you'd stop me, I would imagine. I mean, that's the way it is. So the permits are one thing, but if you don't want to go to the permits, let's go to the next level. One of the reasons you couldn't, there were things you couldn't put in the County Powers Act was because it's federal. The federal is what regulates the quarries, rock quarries. Well, I'm going to read something quick to you. The Mine Safety and Health Administration is over quarries. That's the ultimate voice, okay? The Mine Safety and Health Administration carries out the mandate of the Mine Act at all mining and mineral processing operations in the United States, regardless of size, number of employees, commodity mined, or method of extraction. So our County Powers Act said a business had to be in existence and either in operation or operational. The Mine Safety Administration maintains a database on all the quarries in the country. So I did a search at 4:45 this afternoon for DeKalb County, Tennessee. These are the quarries that are in operation. So there's no, commissioners, I want you to understand the law you passed said they had to be in operation or operational. As of 4:45 this afternoon, there's the Liberty Quarry from Rogers Group, the DeKalb County Highway Department Quarry, and a defunct Jones Brothers Quarry, which has been abandoned and no longer in use. That should be all you need to know about whether or not to enforce this law. The same thing with the crypto mine. How are you going to define operation? We felt a great victory after you passed that. Let me know. I'll stop when it's my time. I went out there the day after you passed the act, and all I saw was a telephone pole. How would you ever construe that as being operational, that crypto mine? I mean, you're going to have to really stretch. But that's what I want you to be aware. According to the federal regulatory agency who oversees these quarries, neither of these quarries is in existence a month after you passed the bill. All right?
All right, any other member of the public? State your name and either your address or the district you reside in, and I'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
It's Doug Walter, I live on Nashville Highway, Snow Hill, in Myron's district. I'm just going to echo what these gentlemen just said. I get the sense.
Excuse me, if you don't care, get close to the mic.
I'll get real close. How's that?
I'm having very
Can you
difficult
hear me
time
now?
here. That's good.
So I get the sense, I'm going to echo what these guys just said. I get the sense you're not ready to take on the fight to enforce this County Powers Act. Maybe I'm wrong, but I get that sense from what I heard earlier tonight. I don't understand why you're moving so slowly in meeting with the county attorney to discuss this enforcement. I mean, you can take actions now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the businesses had to be permitted or applied for all permits prior to passage. The quarry on Snow Hill has not applied for the required highway permit. I checked with them after the passage of the County Powers Act. I checked with the person that issues the permit, and she has not heard from them. So they have not applied for the required permits. And they have to have one. They said they've been, excuse me, the county or the state has been there. The entrance from their quarry onto the highway is not acceptable to the state. So you have, again, another avenue to take this fight on if you're willing to take on the fight. They've started operating again recently without a water quality permit. Basically, these guys are just flagrantly thumbing their nose at the county and the state and getting away with it. And I think this county needs to make a stand. You know, the commission passed the act. It's now your responsibility to enforce it. I don't think you can waffle. If you do that, other businesses are going to point to that, and they're going to come here and say, well, you didn't enforce it on those guys. So I think this is a serious issue that needs to be taken care of. And if you're very concerned about being sued by businesses that want to bully our county, you should also be concerned that you got a lot of citizens that are concerned about suing the county for not enforcing the County Powers Act. So I think your meeting with the county attorney should be done expeditiously and as quickly as possible to get moving on this, or this thing's just going to get stupider. Pardon my language, that's not a good word. But I think you really need to, protect the assets of your county, our county, from all this exploitation. So, thank you.
Any other member would like to speak to the commission? State your name and either the district you reside in or your address. I'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
All right. My name is Kerry Watson. Live on Old Highway 53, just off Highway 70. In reference to the County Powers Act and the Jones Quarry, I talked to the mayor once. I've got about 1,000 feet, or we've got about 1,000 feet of shared fence line with this quarry. They wouldn't fall under the 5,000-foot rule because from our back porch to the middle of the quarry is about 2,000 feet. Okay, now as far as the County Powers Act, it says in existence and operational, and being a key word or whatever. As far as them being in existence, they don't have or they didn't a few days ago, have a business license in this county. They have not filed I heard him talking about the federal mining safety and health reports. That is a requirement by the federal government, so that proves they're not in operation as far as that goes. Existence, power on the land, there's a pole there that serviced a mobile home. That's it. They have done nothing, no operations or anything. The TDOT, they are required to make application for an entrance to the highway. They have made that application. It was approved. It will be installed by Twin K. But TDOT Tennessee regulation says that it has to be installed before operations commence. So they're not in operation as far as that goes. I mean, I was told by the mayor that they're in existence and all their permits had been taken care of. The permits have not been taken care of. There's quite a few out there that are not complete, water being one of them, and we've all requested a meeting, which will be December the 17th. And as far as the on the operational end, it proves that they're not operational. So basically all it amounts to is you need to enforce. You said, you put it in plain English, that it has to be in existence and operational. State Attorney General's office said it's enforceable by this commission and General Sessions Court, not by the mayor or anybody else. You have the authority to override as far as that goes. Now, the second thing that was told by the mayor was, well, that doesn't make any difference because they've started the process. It doesn't say in your regulations starting the process. It says in existence and operational. So I object to the quarry. I don't know how you feel about having a quarry 2,000 feet from your back porch. Probably not good. Property values are going to go down. There's no doubt about that, if you can even sell a piece of property. All the community is just going to be gone. I'm one of many here tonight. I called everybody off because y'all meeting times changed or whatever, but I've got a lot of people here, and we officially challenge you to enforce a regulation that you put into effect. It's that simple. Thank you.
Any other member of the public want to speak? Any other member? Public want to speak before we close?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I just want to make a statement. I know a lot of people are upset with the current conditions of quarries and stuff of that nature. We have to sit down and have a meeting with our county attorney, with the commission, in a legal setting, and show all these things that you have all mentioned today to the county commission with our county attorney, and they have to make a decision to enforce something. I'm not the power that enforces the County Powers Act. The commission has to make that move, not me. But this commission has to meet in a legal setting with the county attorney to review the information and make a decision based off that information. So I know you're upset, but again, please be patient with us at this time until we get the ball moving. And a lot of times I don't come out and say, yeah, we're going to do this, because I'm not an attorney. I can't give legal advice. I don't want to give your hopes up. Hopefully it will work in your favor, and I hope it does. But I'm not going to get your hopes up and tell you it will. So we need to sit down with our county attorney, which will happen very soon, and hopefully we'll know something by the end of December. So. Motion by Jeff, seconded by Myron. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.